Hello, everyone. My name is Raven, and welcome to Raven Gaming Labs, and welcome to my lovely old school retro Saturday video. And I was kind of torn on, what to cover for this video, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to cover BBSs because BBSs is something that I'm actually like really, really passionate about. I really like them still, even though they're very old, but they're still very, very cool. So what is a BBS? Well, what you see in front of you is actually the login screen for my BBS. I did this myself, and I am not an artist, so I'm actually very proud of this, by the way. Like super proud of it. Like way more proud of it than I should be, but I am, so it's fine. And anyway, so a BBS stands for a Bulletin Board System, and they came around in, I believe, the very late 70s, very early 80s, somewhere around there. And I actually have two documentaries that I'm going to show you all, and you guys can go watch them, and it covers the exact history of them. But basically, they are the internet before the internet. And essentially, it was how people communicated prior, well, to the internet. And you could do all sorts of stuff. And they did evolve. The ad features were added, all that sort of stuff. They ran over phone line modem connections. Nowadays, they run over, internet telnet and all that sort of stuff. And they did get telnet, later on in life, even when they were still popular. But dialing in through your phone line and just calling the computer's phone number was how you would connect to it. And a lot of the early ones were one node, so only one person can be on it at a time. And then as time went on, they were big money makers for some people. There were entire businesses set up. It's where the demo scene, the art scene, the whereas scene, all that stuff got its start. Because prior to DARPANET turning into the World Wide Web and all that good stuff, people really didn't have a way to use computers to really connect to each other. So BBSs were it. And like I said, there were forums, people could share files, all sorts of stuff. And one really fun fact is if you lived in a more rural community, you might not have as many options. But if you lived in a city, you probably had a lot. Now, I'm from a rural community, and I'm just old enough that by the time I got into computers, BBSs were already out the door, unfortunately, or had just gone out the door. So I never got to really experience them too much as a kid. I did go on a few, but I missed their heyday, unfortunately. And here lately, they've been sort of making a bit of a revival, if you will. And so yeah, it's pretty cool. But what I was gonna say, back to my point there, is if you wanted to call like a BBS that was long distance, for those of you who did not grow up in an era where long distance was an actual issue, because now all phones pretty much have unlimited calling in the United States, as they should. Oh gosh, the fees and stuff were bad. I remember as a kid like not being able to call some of my friends because they were in different areas, and it was like, nope, same area code, but they were in like a different zone or whatever, and couldn't call them because it's like a quarter a minute or something. It was like mind boggling. Um, and Good times. So BBSs were exactly like that. You could pay a quarter a minute, $1 a minute, $2 a minute. Depending on where you're calling, what your company's your phone company's plans are with all the others. So it could vary. Anyway, so the point is despite all of that, they were still extremely popular. Like, when Doom came out, people would organize Doom matches, and then you had stuff like Dwango Bob and all that other stuff. But it was still a very cool place where people could hang out. They could chat. They could do all kinds of stuff. And so before we actually go into the BBS, I'm going to hit Alt F4. I know it's crazy. Actually, I think I'll hit Alt X. Yeah, there we go. And I'll disconnect, and then it'll just pop me right back out. So the two main different sync term terminals, and that I use mainly, is either sync term, which is what I was just in, and you can grab it down here, and there's a Win32 version and a Mac OS version. There's other people that maintain Linux builds, but I mean, if you have one on your computer for whatever reason, you can actually just run it straight through that. I mean, it's basically just an SDL window. It works flawlessly through one. You don't even notice. So if you're feeling super lazy, you can grab it through that. It's also found in the AUR. The other fun one is the Netrunner by the Mystic BBS developer. And Mystic BBS is the forum software that I use. I'm going to move this over here. And links to all this stuff is all in the description, as always. And so Mystic BBS is a very popular bulletin board system. And another one is Synchronet. And they are both very, very cool. I'm actually going to move it over here. There we go. And so one big thing is, like, in particular, if you want to run a BBS and you want to run and play like all the door games, like Trade Wars, Barren Realms Elite, Global War, all this stuff. A lot of those older games are DOS. They are DOS games, and for better or for worse, that's just the way they are. And so one problem that you'll really kind of run into when you try to set up a Mystic BBS is like, what do you run it on? Because not a lot of people want to run a server on a DOS machine. So what we do with ours is we actually run it on Windows 2003. We have a bunch of community patches and other stuff to keep it as secure as humanly possible. And not that there's anything important on it, but you don't want anyone wiping out the BBS directory. And basically, Windows Server 2003 is actually really nice because it allows you to, kind of have the best of everything. Almost all the BBS software is developed for at least Windows, and they usually always have a 32-bit version. And we're talking like modern BBS software, by the way, not old BBS software, but like modern BBS software. And they'll also usually have like a Linux version or whatever. But all the DOS stuff will work on a Windows 2003 machine pretty well. That I've found anyway. Sometimes it can be a bit of a pain, but I made enough adjustments to Windows 2003 that it's perfectly fine. Sometimes the permission groups, like for accounts, kind of messes with it because it's looking for something specific or a specific directory. Like sometimes they're always looking for ctemp, like always. There are those oddball programs where it's like won't launch because ctemp. So you just make a folder in ctemp or you just make a temp folder in your C directory and it just works. So there is some like oddball stuff from the archaic era. And then here we have the two BBS documentaries I was referring to. BBS The Documentary is about 5 hours long. And then an 8-part series. These are trailers. And then an 8-part series by Al's Geek Lab. If you're ever interested in this stuff or you just want something cool to watch, I highly recommend both of them. BBS The Documentary is actually from the early 2000s. Maybe even the very late 90s, but I'm pretty certain based on the clothing that everyone's wearing, it's the early 2000s. And Back to the BBS is about 3 years old. And it's pretty cool. It covers all sorts of stuff. And it's pretty neat. Like BBS is, like I said, it's pretty neat. It's the reason I'm doing this on this lovely retro Saturday. And then I have the RBBS Reddit. And people will post stuff. And there's a mention of FreeDOS. So before when I mentioned that like people would communicate, there is a network that someone created called the FreeDOS. And FreeDOS allowed all the BBSs to be interconnected to each other. And then what would happen is like you could send an email on the FreeDOS and it would bounce between every FreeDOS node until it got to your person. And sometimes this could take a day or 2 days, 3 days, however long it took, because sometimes if it was a long jump, then you might have to like wait, because it only did the check like once per day, or maybe it did it more than that, but I'm pretty sure it only does it once per day, and then it would bounce it over. Now the modern FreeDOS network is completely different. It still exists. People's original accounts apparently still exist. People's original nodes still exist, but everything's run over Telnet and Ethernet and everything. Nice, good, high quality internet. So it's instant. But the FreeDOS does still exist. And then over here we have another. So like if you use Mystic BBS, I don't like Synchronet. Nothing against Synchronet devs. So if any of you Synchronet devs actually watch this video, just note that I actually think your project is really cool. I just don't like JavaScript, so I just ignore Synchronet. And you can scroll down, and there is mine. There are 200 BBS. I used to be higher up, but for some reason it got removed. I don't know if something happened to the wiki or whatever, but I used to be like much higher up, and now I'm not. So I have to, yeah. So I have to do that stuff. It's super fun. Anyway, moving on. And then we have something called the BBS guide. And this guide is pretty cool. You can see my BBS. I updated it last April 12th, which is pretty cool. It's a recent update. And yeah, the you can't connect it because I use a non-standard port because I use port 1337. And then there's, I mean, it's a huge list of BBSs. Like 8 were added in the last 30 days. This one looks pretty cool. I like the opening here, the little matrix effect there going on. That's pretty cool. And you can see all the different ones, like the zombie zone, the phase shift. That one's pretty cool. It's simple. I like simple. Sometimes people make some really simple stuff. I can't really do ASCII art very well. And while BBSs might have created ASCII art, not for me. And then you have plain shift. Yeah, one way to keep hackers and just general modern bots off your BBS and from hammering it, do not put it on port 23, which is the default telnet port. Don't do that to yourself. just don't do that. I need to update this page. So yeah. Anyway, so let's actually look at the 2 clients and let's connect. So I'm going to go and start with Netrunner. And when we launch Netrunner, we can hit, actually, you know what? Let me close Netrunner. And I think it was this. Yep. Okay. So what we could do is there's a bunch of commands. You can hit Alt-Z for all the commands. So like one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the font type. I did Alt-F in order to do that. And I'm going to set to MS-DOS standard resolution with no filtering. That'll make it a lot more original looking. So how BBSs work is they run through text mode, because a lot of, well, all computers from the 80s and into the 90s had text mode. You know, Commodore, Amiga. I mean, a lot of Commodore games are just text mode games. And then you have, you know, Amiga, the Apple IIs, obviously DOS. I mean, and most of the modern BBSs are DOS. So, which is fair enough, or at least they're using like DOS compatible stuff. There are some Amiga ones roaming around that you can use, and I'll actually put it to the Amiga ASCII just so I can show you the difference. So like you can see it change. The Amiga has a really cool font. Unfortunately, my BBS does not look good with the Amiga font set, or it doesn't look as good. I use a lot of pipes, and so it looks pretty bad. We'll take a look at what that looks like in a little bit. But there are actually a few. In fact, there is one board that I know that's still running. It runs on an old Macintosh, which is just crazy cool. And he's got like hundreds of door games and stuff on it. It is awesome to connect to that BBS. And then we'll just do Alt-D, and then it'll ask us, you want to unable to load a phone book, create a new one. We'll hit yes. It'll create the phone book. And now we have this, and you got some nice stuff down here. So if we want to make a new one, we just hit insert, and then we can change the system name. And this is just like for, you know, inside of your, you know, BBS here. And it'll tell you like your last call, the number of calls. I like that it starts with 1980. I don't know why it's like that. And then you can hit delete to remove that record, and we'll re-add it. But we actually can't connect because obviously we didn't do anything there. So in order to edit it, we'll just hit Alt-E. And then for the address, we're going to do bbs.error200.tech. And then 1337. So make sure it's that. For the protocol, we're going to leave it at Telnet. My BBS only currently supports Telnet, although I do plan to implement SSH for those of you that would like to do secure connections. And then there's rlogin, SSH, and so forth. Sync term, I believe, supports more protocols, but since like 99% use Telnet, you can pretty much use any of them. You can assign software, you can put the sysop name, you can put your username and password, and some BBSs will allow an auto sign in, and that's where you can use that. So there's the status bar. That can actually be really useful to tell you like your node, your system time, because you have to remember this is all from an era where multitasking was not really a thing. So like you couldn't just tab over and see a clock or whatever. You actually had to literally have a clock. For emulation type, you just want to leave it on ANSI BBS. I don't use the VT102 emulation or protocol at all, so ANSI is fine. We could set the font type. This will actually override your font, but you can change it. There's the mouse. You can run a script. You can capture. There's a lot of stuff. We don't need to send a CRLF. I manage all of that, but you can turn it on if you need to. Most you can leave all this stuff default. You can leave a comment. You can leave a rating for it. I'll just leave this at 1 because it really doesn't matter. But then there's this other mode. Actually, let's talk about echo. So you can turn echo on or off. I just leave it at auto. That way it'll check. Like a lot of this stuff, if you're ever given the option, just leave it auto. Because what'll happen is the BBS software will report these settings back for what it uses. It's kind of like there's a bunch of different screen modes you can run it in. 80 by 25, or sorry, 80 by 24 is usually the default because the last row is usually for the status bar. So like my BBS runs at 80 by 24, so it, there's no cutoff. The status bar is right down there, and as far as I know, everything is fine when you have the status bar on. So you don't necessarily want to crank up the number of columns and rows. And remember, because it's like text mode, there's no graphics or anything. It's all just plain text. And then for colors, the nice thing about Netrunner is it supports the blinking color mode and ice mode. And ice mode, rather than having the text blink, because there are special things you can do with in text mode within like VGA and stuff, where you actually have, well, I think you can also do it with CGA. It's been a while since I've programmed CGA, but basically you can set a custom background color, and it's above 15, and basically like if 16, 17, whatever, it sets the color, but instead of having like a solid background color, because let me back up a little bit here. CGA can have 16 colors in total. 16 foreground colors and 8 background colors. However, when you have blinking turned on, you can actually set values above it, and all it really does is set the foreground color to blink. So you can have text that like blinks and stuff like that. You'll actually see what I'm talking about here. And then you can set it to ice, and instead of blinking, those colors are brighter. It was like a special thing. I think it's found in VGA, though. But we're just going to save these changes, and then we're going to sign in, and we should instantly connect. And you can see over here that this is actually supposed to blink, but it doesn't. And you saw that for a second there, it did. So I'm going to hit Alt-F, and I'm going to change this to the Amiga, and that's what it looks like with the Amiga. And then, yeah, it blinked, and then it went back to green. So it is kind of unfortunate, but we'll see with sync term what it's like there. But we're going to, and also we don't have our status bar. I'm probably going to, it's going to be like that, huh? Yeah, for some reason it doesn't have the status bar turned on with sync term, which is strange. I think I needed to grab the beta version. I think there's actually another version that I needed to grab. Hang on, let me hit Alt-X to disconnect and exit Netrunner. And let me go back to Netrunner here, and let me go to downloads. There we go. Let me go over here. And Netrunner. Should be this one. All right. Let me make sure. Yes, it is. All right. So now I'm going to go back into Netrunner here. There's like some bug or something. Wait, hang on. That was the Linux version. Hang on. Ah, there we go. No, wait a minute. Why does it do this? Why? Why? Okay. Sorry about that. It was this one. I don't know why I kept grabbing these. They were all the Linux version. I was just like, this is driving me crazy. Okay, so now we're going to run Netrunner here. We're going to do a Alt F, and we're going to set it to no filtering. And we'll do an Alt D. It did remember everything, and also, as you can see, it set the call right. And now we'll hit Enter. And it's blinking properly, because I guess they fixed that bug. And we have our beautiful little status bar down here. And we can hit Alt-S to turn it on and off. And then we'll hit enter. And yes, the quotes change. It's got electrolytes, everybody. And I will just type in my username and password. And then invisible login, you can change. I don't think that... I think this is only for admins. So, there's no one else connected. So it's fine. And then when you connect, you have one-liners. And people can drop, all their different, one-liners and stuff. And we're not going to add one. And then there's new mail, and then a possible hack attempt, which is silly because it was just me failing to remember my password. And now you are at the main screen here. And obviously, as you can see, it's got main, and this says the server time, which is the time of the server, not your client, obviously. The number of minutes left, I basically just set it forever because it's like, come on, like, I can easily set this to 255 nodes, and I doubt that many people are going to be connected anyway. And then you can hit L so you can see like the last couple people that have called and all the dates that they've called. You can do a /W, and you can see all the people that are connected. There's only 32 connections right now. And so yeah, I mean, there's tons of stuff in here. There's different files. So you can do the file indexer, and there's actually no files on here because I haven't actually put any on. You can hit Q to go back. You can bank your time. There's a whole lot of stuff in here. There's also some like hidden sysop stuff that like, you can't exactly see. Like you can go in here and you can see the sysop menu. So like if you're ever a, a mystic BBS sysop guy, you can probably know how to access it, but you do need the right security privileges. And then you have Node Chat, and this is pretty cool. It's just a built-in chat client. Now, the downside to this thing is that it doesn't save, so like if someone leaves or comes back or whatever, you don't see what was previously in there. But it is built into Mystic, which is pretty cool. And even better is you can hit I, and you can actually join the Error 200 IRC from here, and you can hit Control H there, and it gives you all the different options. Again, this is all completely text mode. It's just text graphics and all that good stuff, which is pretty darn cool. You can do a CLS, it'll wipe out the screen, and then you can say, hello, everyone, and then, type in. And there are actually some other people online. They're just away, and for some reason it does not show them. And then you can do a /Q, and it goes back. And then you have the message board where people can, talk and stuff. And there are actually people do introduce themselves in here. There's also this ginormous BBS tutorial that I wrote, and you can actually see the background colors. And so you can see the lovely, lovely blinking. And so if this was ice, for example, we'll disconnect, but we don't want to... Yes. No. Okay. Hang on. I'm going to roll it all the way back really quick. Yeah, thanks. And then we'll do an Alt-E, and I'm going to set this to ice colors this time. Save changes. And then we'll roll it in. And you'll notice that it's a little weird, but that's fine. I mean, you know, it's whatever. We'll sign back in. Save. Lock in. No, no, no. Go back to the message board. Go back to the index board. And now, when you have the blinking colors there, you can now see they're just super bright. Like, absolutely full bright. And this is like a nice thing to read because it tells you everything and how you do different commands and stuff. And I typed this out. It took like a lot longer than I want to admit because of the way the way that it formatted was kind of weird. So it ended up being kind of weird. And there's an introduce. I don't want to introduce. Hang on. So everybody can come in here and introduce themselves. I mean, you guys have browsed forums and stuff before. It's all pretty much what you're probably used to. It's just done through a client and hosted on a different server. And it's all encrypted too, which is actually quite lovely. There's bulletins, but the bulletins don't do anything right quite yet. I have not fixed it. I do know how to fix it. I just haven't done it yet. And then you go to the door games. And this is where, you know, like I was talking about earlier, there's a lot of very cool stuff in here. And is there a way to change the I'm looking for something specific here. Is there a way to change the rates? No. So that's the weird part about Netrunner. I could have sworn there was a way to change the No, doesn't seem like it. Let me try Alt-O. Ah. Macros, miscellaneous. Nope. Anyway, so there's a whole lot of you know, different games and stuff. Like, for example, you can load up freshwater fishing. This is actually too fast, which is super funny. So I actually am going to probably get stuck in here. Yeah, there we go. All right, and then we'll quit, and we'll quit. Now returning you back to the BBS, and you can also switch between the pages, although it's not a lot. You can use the arrow keys to switch between the pages, but there's still only the first row. I haven't added all the others. And so, like, Legion RPG, by the way, is a brand new, well, I say brand new. I think it's been out for a couple of years. But it's kind of inspired by Lord and all the others. And you can hit A, press a key. Okay, it doesn't load the about for some reason. The game works, though. You know, you can start the game. Create a new player. Create a player now. All right, cool. Let's play as me. Yes. Hit Y there. Choose a starter class. So you know what? Let's be a paladin. I like being paladins. Okay, and then you go in, and that was actually really easy. There's my little character. Wow, it did not hang out there very quick. Yeah, pretty good. So you have a certain number of turns. I have a club and cloth armor. Pretty strong though. Kind of well-rounded actually. And then, you know, you can go to the forest and fight. You can go to the tavern. You can order a drink. I don't know what a Legion scroll is. Let's find out. Let's see if it... Okay. It threw me back out. Nice. That's always nice. And then there's a whole bunch. So there's literally Wordle. Someone wrote Wordle, which is pretty cool. It's doing some maintenance because no one's launched it probably in a while. And... There's Eric with his all-time leader score. And so you can just play, you know, full-on Wordle. And the nice part is I'm not going to play Wordle because I'm actually really bad I do not have test in my database. Oh, enter a 5-letter word. Wow. Oh, I got an O. Oh, man. Okay. Still in the wrong spot. You know what? Is there a way out of here? Is there a way to quits? Oh, there's an I here. I'm just gonna bomb it. This limbo. Anyway, I'm terrible at that game. But I am now the monthly leader. I have stolen and taken it from Eric. So, haha. Um, and there, like I say, there's a whole bunch. Lore is actually quite a lot of fun. Press space to begin playing. Press enter. Another day in the world of whatever that's at. Crestonia, I think. So one thing that's nice about this particular game is nobody is here. That's nice. I think that this particular game, yeah, it messes up when you play it under Netrunner because Netrunner is running at full speed and there's no way to rate limit. See, this is one of the problems that I was talking about here. So I'm actually going to disconnect. It's probably going to error, but that's fine. I'm going to get out of it. And now I'm going to go to sync term. Now, this is one reason why I prefer and use sync term over, all the others. And I already actually have mine. So I actually like to set default connection settings. Telnet, I had set it to that. I use LCD 80 by 25, but you can use regular 80 by 25 too, which is what the current screen mode is. You can set your fonts if you have any fonts, and all this sort of stuff. However, I'm going to hit F2, and we can also make sure we have music enabled, which I think Netrunner supports, but I cannot remember. But there is one very important aspect, is the COM rate. I'm going to set to 300, and so that's a baud rate of 300. That literally translates roughly to 30 characters per minute. And so you can see what it looks like. We'll connect. And you can actually see this stuff. It was all there before, but the terminal was so fast that it just, shot right through super, super quick. Which is pretty darn cool. I don't know why it's doing that, though. I'm going to up the output rate to, say, 4,800. Hang on. Current. There we go. I don't know what that deal was there, but I'm going to set it the output rate back to... Actually, let's do 1,200, because that would have been more high speed. 300 is abysmally slow. So we'll hit enter. And as you can see, if you had a 1,200 baud modem, this is roughly what it would look like. And by the way, yes, it did just draw characters. And we'll just do... Oh, I had to draw that next portion there. Yeah, we'll do an invisible login. And now it's going to load all the one-liners and stuff in. Thus, the BBS server hasn't been reset in like 4 months. So if lore still doesn't work, I probably just have to reset it. Lore hasn't been updated in like 30 years. Or 27 years, something like that. So, And then you have, yep. So disconnect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the output rate to 9,600 to load. A little faster. Let's see. Am I still online? Nope, I'm not still online. Okay, so it did properly disconnect me at least. We'll go to door games. And then we'll go back to lore. And I actually had to hit space. It told me that I actually had to hit space here. Okay. So the issue here is that lore is messed up, and that's fine. I'm gonna sign in under my other account. And we'll go to door games because I'm still locked in there. I'll reset the server. Lore does that. I really like lore. The reason that I wanted to show lore is that lore uses the it's a 2D MMO actually. It's a 2D text MMO. You use the keypad to walk around, the numpad, and you can actually see other players as you're walking around. You can talk to them. Like there's a whole host of really cool stuff. But the problem is that it does that. So lore has to be like reset every once in a while, or it just completely locks up like that. And the fact someone was able to do that in a BBS door game on a DOS only door is really impressive. I feel like if it had been Windows, it would have probably run a little bit better. There's also like, door mud, um, which I have the full version of, and that's pretty cool. Probably one of my favorite ones is Usurper. But this is a brutal game, definitely not meant for children, and that's right, there's also a bug with Usurper. Wow, everything I try to show is just not working. That's always really, really handy. Anyway, so then we have Barren Realms Elite, and this is just basically a strategy game, and I'm just going to call this the TRD Empire. No, I don't really want instructions. And then I'm going to quit, so I'm going to do 0. I'm actually going to load it back up. And so I actually really like this. So you can see the blinking and the animated. So this is actually animated. So some ASCII art had different pages. And so, it's just swapping between black and then this. And it's just, it's got a little bit of shine to it. And this is by John Daly, John Daly Software. And this game was started February 26th of 2023. And this is a really cool game. So like if you guys ever want to come and play like a strategy game or whatever with me, do let me know. Particularly if you're on my Discord, because I will gladly play this game with anyone. And yeah, so this game's pretty cool. I'll probably actually upload like an actual proper playthrough, later, not right now. And there's a whole bunch of others like Falcon's Honor is basically another RPG. There's a whole bunch of games that I truly do need to load in here. I just haven't done it yet. It can be a little frustrating and a little like, oh my god, please don't. I'm gonna go crazy. Anyway, and then there's Lemonade. And Lemonade is literally Lemonade Tycoon. The original Lemonade Tycoon. And this is BBS files because you can no longer really get this game. And so, you just play Lemonade and it's 30 days. You start with $1, you go to the next day. You can make 50 glasses of lemonade. How many do you wish to make? 50. Um, if you decide, so how much do you want to charge per glass? 20 cents. I sold all 50. Cost me $1. I made $9. And then, we go on to the next day. And so you have to pay attention to like the rain and the temperature and stuff like that. How many glasses do you wish to make? Let's do 100 at 15 cents. And I sold 0. Why? Because it rained. And if you leave right now, you'll actually lose your days. So would you like to view the top 10? Yes, I would. And I'm actually at the top. So that's pretty cool. The last high score was set by Reed, where he made 533,000 was all time by Reed. Good Lord, Reed. You know what, Reed? If you're actually watching this video, Reed's a buddy of mine. If you're actually watching this video up until this point, you have to be kidding me. Come on, man. I know you figured out a way to like glitch it, but remember when I was talking about the rate control? So let's do, what is it, Alt Z, and we'll set it to 9600, and then we'll do freshwater fishing. Freshwater fishing tends to work better, but like I said, it's also kind of broken at the moment because I think the server needs to be restarted. It hasn't been restarted since February, I don't think, and that is probably why it's being kind of wonky with some of these games. Usurper is easy to fix. I just actually have to go in there and fix Usurper. I have to edit all the config files, and I think that's why Usurper's not loading. I just have to sit down and do it. And it's very time consuming. So I gotta do it. I have to I have to remote into the server in order to access it. It just takes time. So we'll hit 1, and then we'll select the lake, and then we'll go fishing. And this is another cool one where you can use the numpad there. And I think we can actually change the output rate. I forget what the limit for this is, but you can see in the top left there, we have our little, let's go over here to these reads. And we're on lily pad stems. And we will just... Nope. It did that thing where it... Nope, there it goes. Completely went kind of crazy there. Let's try casting another lure. See if we can hook something. Okay, so now we get to reel them in. Oh, we didn't actually have to fight that one. All right, we will return to the boat menu. It'll take a second here. And we'll look in the live well there. And we have... Okay. Didn't actually hit anything there. Please keep it open. 1 pound, 8 ounce white bass. Not bad. And so there's tournaments and stuff. I would actually really like to use the newer version of Freshwater Fishing Simulator, but it has a DOS bug that prevents it from pretty much working, period, full stop. And it works in solo mode, but not in the BBS mode, which is very annoying. And the last update was like, what, 95 or something? It never got fixed. It was promised to get fixed, but unfortunately it never happened. So anyway, so this is what a BBS is. I know this was a very long video and most of you probably didn't sit through it. But if you did, that's pretty cool. Thank you so much. We'll change the output rate back to current. And by the way, a lot of the other BBS games, for example, like the Arcadian Legends, Baron Realms Elite, Falcon 9, Falcon Honor, Wordle, all this stuff, most of these actually do work in, like the Pit, for example. I think... yeah, the Pit works fine at this, resolution, so to speak. I don't actually remember how to get out of here. Does anyone see the way out? There we go. It was X. So, yeah, super cool. So, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you like this, you're always welcome. The BBS is always there and available. If you can't connect to it, it's because I'm resetting it because, it's necessary. And the good news is it killed that connection. So, but I could tell it needs just a quick restart. It takes about 30 seconds to fully restart and have the BBS back up from the time I connect in. So it's very fast. Anyhow, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. You guys have a good one. Hey everyone, thanks for watching Raven Gaming Labs. Thanks to all the members and viewers who make RGL possible. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell so that you can be notified. If you want to become a member, hit the join button or link in the description below. Members get early access to videos, member-exclusive content, and more. As well, don't forget to join our awesome community over at Discord. Y'all have a good one.